Good afternoon. It is now 1:48 p.m. and we are back from recess. And this afternoon we are here to examine the nomination of Miss Donna Flores, nominated to the CNMI Scholarship Board. And before we begin with today's procedures, I'd like to ask everyone to please take a moment to silence all your electronic devices. This committee appreciates minimal distractions during the session. And I'd also like to introduce members of the LB staff who are here today. For those of you who are not familiar with them, we have our counsel, Mr. Joe Bermudez. We have the legislative assistant assigned to this committee, Mr. Devin Macaranas. We have our IT manager, Mr. Jonathan Diaz. And to keep order and decorum in the chamber at all times, we have our sergeant at arms, Mr. Ben Terlahi. The agenda was adopted this morning, so we will not go through that. At this time, I will just say a few words. As I mentioned earlier, we are here today to examine the credentials and vet the nomination of Ms. Donna Flores to the CNMI Scholarship Board. And this procedure requires the advice, any nomination from the executive requires the advice, or at least a cabinet and board members, requires the advice and consent of the Senate. This committee is charged under statute to vet the nominations and make the recommendation to the full Senate body. We do not confirm during these hearings. And at this time, I would like to open the floor for public comments. And if you do wish to make public comments, I'd like to ask for you to please state your name and the entity you represent, and pursuant to the Senate rules, you will be allowed at least 5 minutes. The floor is now open.
All right. Hafaday and Tito, honorable members of the CNMI Senate. My name is Bobby Cruz, and I'm the chairperson of the Northern Marianas Humanities Council, the vice chair for the American Red Cross, and the state education agency co-director for PSS Mental Health. I'm also a proud gay son of the Marianas and a person with a disability. I'm here today to express my full support of the nomination of Donna Flores to the CNMI Scholarship Board. I have had the pleasure of knowing Ms. Flores for 15 years in a professional capacity, and I can unequivocally attest to her exceptional leadership, professional expertise, and heart for the people of our home islands. Throughout my professional interactions with Ms. Flores, I have consistently been impressed by her unwavering integrity, dedication, and passion for serving underrepresented communities. Ms. Flores has shown time and time again that she is the consummate professional, working tirelessly to ensure that her projects and initiatives are inclusive, fair, and dignified, always executed with precision and excellence. When we sit together at PSS as key management, she never succumbs to the voice of the majority. She's always that person to say, wait, let's think about how this is going to impact the lives of everyone. What sets Ms. Flores apart is her bold advocacy for those who are differently abled and underrepresented. Her unwavering commitment to these important members of our community who are often unseen is both admirable and inspiring. She has consistently demonstrated her ability to be a voice for those who might otherwise be overlooked or marginalized. And her work has made a significant difference in the lives of so many, including my own. In fact, I look to her as a mentor, as someone whose leadership I would like to emulate. I believe that Ms. Flores' unique combination of expertise, leadership, and commitment to social justice in our beautiful home islands makes her an ideal candidate for the CNMI Scholarship Board, and we need more leaders like her. Her dedication to promoting access to education and opportunities for all students, including someone like me who comes from Cagman, who grew up in an outhouse bathroom and shower, outhouse shower, who did not use Charmin Ultra Soft, but who used crumpled newspaper and then spat in it to make it soft, to show that education is truly a sword against poverty, to create space for someone like myself who has a speech impediment but yet can have the courage to appear before you all today and be brave enough to give a testimony. That's the kind of leader that Ms. Flores is. She gives space for individuals like me to take hold of success. Therefore, I urge you all to confirm Ms. Flores's nomination to the CNMI Scholarship Board. There have been many leaders who have risen to very high spaces who I would never sit here and testify to. And there are leaders who currently occupy very high spaces who I do not support. She is not one of those leaders. She is someone who I hold in very high regard. And so I make time today to come here and to testify to her exceptional character. And I think that the CNMI is very blessed to have her have her service. So I thank you all for your service as well. Undang ko na si Jesus Masi for your time, you allowing me to speak here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Bobby Cruz, for that sentimental, lively, and vivid testimony. The floor is still open.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and Senator Manglotnya. My name is Roseman Sword, and I come from the private sector, so I represent everybody in the radio industry and in real estate management. But also for women, because it's Women's Month, and it is with pride that I beg for the indulgence of this committee for its recommendation to confirm Donna Flores into the Board of Scholarship. I've known Donna since Mount Carmel School when we were little girls running around the yard. So I'm sure you're very much familiar with our campus at that time. But having known Donna for many years, she's become, the one of the greatest and most loving moms I've ever seen within our group of classmates, and just has a lot of passion to help other kids and families and those in need within our community. And for one thing that I can tell you about Donna is that she's a perfectionist and she wants to do things right. And as much as we love her, some of those characteristics of her perfectionism is kind of annoying for us, but we still love her and we appreciate her for that. Um, haven't had the pleasure of working with Donna in a professional capacity, but just knowing who she is just such a privilege to have her as part of our classmates, and we've remained as classmates even now at in our golden years. So I would all appreciate, and I think I can speak on behalf of our class to please recommend for Donna Flores's confirmation to the board. Thank you, and Jesus Masi.
Jesus Moses and buenas tardes, Mrs. Sword. The floor is still open.
Day. Good afternoon. My name is Eric Magofnia, and I am here today in complete support of the nomination of Ms. Donna Flores to the CNMI Scholarship Board. So, as you can tell by the turnout, Ms. Donna does have a lot of support. We all believe in her and her abilities to lead. As an employee of the CNMI public school system for over 13 years now, Ms. Donna Flores' knowledge and expertise in the education field is immense. She is currently the Special Education Director for PSS and is a strong advocate for students and staff. It has always been her passion to fight for equity and equal opportunities for all students. As the Director of Special Education, she is aware of federal education laws and policies and has background knowledge on federal and local funding allocation and compliance. Her appointment to the CNMI Scholarship Board will not only ensure that a voice for students with disabilities is present, but that equal opportunities will continue to be provided for all students. Her passion for scholarship awards for students can be seen in her role she plays in her Mount Carmel class of 1990 scholarship program. As an alumna of Mount Carmel, Ms. Donna Flores, along with her fellow classmates, award a $1,000 scholarship each year to a graduating senior. The scholarship application encourages students to demonstrate a desire to return from college to give back to the islands, similar to the goal of the CNMI Scholarship Office. Ms. Donna Flores is definitely qualified and deserving to be a member of the CNMI Scholarship Board, and I respectfully request for this committee's full support of her nomination. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Magofnia. The floor is still open.
Hafidez and good afternoon. My name is Bettina G. Terlahi, better known as Betty. I am here, honorable members of the Senate Committee on Executive Appointments, Chairwoman Babauta. I'm here in support of the confirmation of Governor Arnold I. Palacios' nomination of Ms. Donna Moore Flores to serve as a member of the CNMI Scholarship Board. As you heard earlier, I'm going to probably repeat some of the things, but bear with me. I have known Ms. Flores for over 40 years. I have experienced her as an individual that is strong-minded, committed, respectful, honest, and carries herself professionally. In her current capacity as a program director under the CNMI public school system, she is knowledgeable and involved with planning and development, budgets and expenditures, board regulations and policies, and makes further recommendations for new policies and procedures as required under her program. She understands the challenges the CNMI bears with limited resources on island, thus having to travel far to recruit highly qualified teachers and staff for the special education program she manages. Ms. Flores has an education background that consists of business, a bachelor in rehabilitative human services, and a master in education law. Besides her strong education, she is an educator and a program director and has the experience, leadership skills, and capacity to achieve the duties and responsibilities of a CNMI Scholarship Board member. A passionate advocate for children with disabilities, she understands the importance of being fair, equal, objective, and non-discriminatory, all of which are critical traits for good governance of a scholarship program. As a DUPO graduate of higher education herself, Ms. Flores desires not only to see our students succeed in higher education, but to give back to the CNMI, take initiatives, and inspire others in our community. To share some personal experiences, Ms. Flores and I are high school graduates of Mount Carmel School, class of 1990, as you heard Ms. Sort testify earlier. Our class, whether you graduated with us, has a special bond that we are proud of. In the past 20 years, we have united with purpose under leaderships to include Ms. Flores's to support nonprofit organizations or events, to do volunteer works, and to raise funds to give back to our community. To put emphasis on how valuable Ms. Flores perceives scholarship, our class has committed to give back to our community by awarding a $1,000 scholarship to a graduating senior of our alma mater for 10 consecutive years. This coming May will be our 7th year award to a graduating senior. If confirmed, Ms. Flores brings to the board the benefits of her life experience, her diverse and positive outlooks, her knowledge and her belief and desire to see that students of the CNMI achieve higher education to build a better community in the CNMI. Thank you for this opportunity and for your consideration. In closing, I humbly ask this Senate committee for a favorable confirmation of Ms. Flores to the CNMI Scholarship Board. Situ Smasi.
Cesar Smossett, Mr. Lahi. The floor is still open. With all the Mount Carmel alumni testifying, I feel like I'm back at Mount Carmel School. Thank you to my fellow Knights. The floor is still open. I also want to recognize the presence of Bishop Ryan Jimenez. Now I feel like I'm in church. The floor is still open. Don't be shy.
Good afternoon, leaders, guests, Magas, Donna Flores. Hello. Hey, good to see you. The first question that we're surrounded by leaders is, what is a leader? Right. And
Before you proceed, can I ask you to
Yes.
please state your name for the record
okay.
and the entity you represent?
yes, Jerry Diaz, itinerant SPED teacher for the public school system. So again, what is a leader? A leader is someone who empowers others to succeed. And Miss Donna Flores, with over 200, close to 200 staff with the special education program, empowers our staff to succeed, to be creative, to take the path and be confident with what we do. But for who? For our students, students of the CNMI. And just yesterday, we had our meeting, and she empowers us to take the steps that are necessary. One, to take on the challenges, and also to work together to empower our families and to connect with each other to find solutions. So it's been an honor to work closely with Ms. Donna Flores and to continue to provide services for our students in general and also our students with special needs. So I fully support her to be nominated as our future CNMI Scholarship Board member. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Diaz. The floor is still open. Anybody else? If there are none, we will proceed.
Good afternoon, leaders. My name is Susan Satur, and I'm the Executive Director for the Center for Living Independently in the CNMI. And I was also one of those teachers at Mount Carmel that they were talking about. I have known Donna for the majority of her life, and I feel honored to be here today to talk on her behalf. She is a woman who sees things through, and I know that she will do justice to that board because she will see everything through and make it happen. And the disability community is, whenever you need help, Donna's there. And I really appreciate that about her. And I think you're making the right decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Satur. The floor is still open.
Good morning, honorable members of the Senate Committee, Chairwoman Selena Babalta. My name is Pam Sablan, Executive Director for the CNMI Council on Developmental Disabilities. I've known Ms. Donna Flores for quite some time in our work and also personally. She's an outstanding individual, our champion of people with developmental disabilities and other disabilities. She was recognized for her work to advocate, as a strong advocate for people with disabilities in the CNMI. I can't say anymore that her commitment, her passion with the work we do day in and day out to find solutions to be inclusive and also work towards improving the lives of people with disabilities. She is the right candidate, especially with her work in the education field. Education is very important, and we believe that, with her being nominated, she will be our champion for people with disabilities, especially students who want to continue post-secondary education or vocational education. Please, please do continue the good work by nominating these types of individuals. Ms. Donna Flores is someone that we all trust, and her leadership skills are so apparent. Everyone here today can attest to that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sablon. The floor is still open. There are none. We will move on. At this time, I'd like to invite, or is there anybody else? I see some movement. This time, I'd like to invite the Deputy Special Assistant for Administration, Mr. Paul Regis, to come up to join us with the nominee, Ms. Donna Flores. And his role here is to formally introduce the nominee to the committee. You may proceed, Mr. Regis, when you're ready.
Good afternoon, Hafday and Tiro, Chairwoman Babalta, and honorable members of this esteemed committee. For the record, my name is Paul Regis, representing the Office of the Governor. On behalf of the Governor Arnold I. Palacios and Lieutenant Governor David M. Apateng, I thank you for the opportunity to appear before you today. I am here to introduce the Governor's nominee to the CNMI Scholarship Board, Mrs. Donna M. Flores. Let me reemphasize, Mrs. Flores has over 30 years of experience in both the private and public sector. She first started in IT&E as a customer service representative from 1990 to 1991, before moving to administrative assistant from 1991 to 1992. She then became an operations manager for Mochi's Disco from 1996 to 2001, before serving as the administrative officer of then Representative Arnold I. Palacios in the 13, 14, 15, and 16 Northern Marianas Commonwealth Legislature from 2002 to 2010. She moved on to the CNMI Public School System Special Education Program, serving as personnel specialist from 2010 to 2017, personnel and compliance program manager from 2017 to 2020, interim director from 2020 to 2021, and director in 2021, where she still serves that position in the present. She graduated from the Northern Marianas College with Bachelor's of Science in Education, and from Nova Southeastern University with a Master's of Science in Education Law. Governor Palacios and Lieutenant Governor Apateng placed their full trust and confidence in Mrs. Flores to serve in the CNMI Scholarship Board. I know she stands ready to answer your questions and present her plans for the future. Her long history of professional experience, credentials, and commitment in serving the Commonwealth in this capacity makes her a viable candidate, and we kindly ask for your expeditious approval. Thank you, Jesus Mosi Zangiluso, for the opportunity to introduce her to this august body. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Regis. And before we ask the nominee to make her remarks, I'd like to say a few words. This hearing is part of the democratic process, which involves the Senate exercising its authority under the law, specifically 1 CMC Section 2901, to vet the credentials and professional fitness of the nominees that appear before this committee in order to recommend, to confirm, or reject the nominee. This nomination comes at a time of stormy financial crisis. Each candidate that appears before this committee will be asked to be resourceful and to do more than what they are asked of. Each member of this committee has a responsibility to ask probing questions in order to make that determination to the full body. And we will also be asking questions that are vital to in coming to that conclusion. And I would now like to ask the nominee to please rise and raise your right hand, as our legislative assistant, Mr. Devin Macaranis, will be administering the oath.
Ms. Donna M. Flores, you do solemnly swear under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you shall give in the matter at hand shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Thank you.
You may be seated. I'd also like to recognize the presence of another member of the EAGI committee, Senator Paul Manglonia. All right, at this time, I will ask the members if there are any statements they would like to make before we start the question and answer portion. There are none, so we will go right into it. Before we do that, I'd like to ask the nominee if you would like to introduce any of your family members, and at this time, you may give your opening remarks.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair and members of this committee. First and foremost, I would like to extend my appreciation to the Honorable Governor Arnold Indalacia Palacios and David M. Apatang for this nomination. I do, I'm very humbled with the nomination, and, should I be confirmed, I will give it my utmost best and in making it work, especially for the students and even those adults who are seeking ways to make their lives better through post-secondary higher education opportunities. These people behind me, I have to say I'm a little overwhelmed because typically I'm the voice for most of these people here. I enjoy speaking on behalf of everyone, and for it now to be my turn, I'm a little bit embarrassed, but I'm truly blessed, and I'm so appreciative for just all the support. They know me, I don't know how to ask, and so when I did reach out to them, I'm just so thankful they were able to take time out of their Friday to come and show some support. I'm thankful that my dad is here. My mom is here, just in a different light. She's looking down on us, and I know she's cheering for me from up above. I've got other friends up there as well, so I know that they're cheering me on as well. My sister's here, my son is here. Did my husband make it? I'm not sure. He's stuck in training somewhere, but if he did, he's here. Yeah, and these guys, they're my family, and like I said, I wouldn't hesitate to come out and support them as well and cheer them on. So I'm truly blessed. I've got good friends here in high and low places, I believe. Some are a little higher that can help transcend maybe, and some, in a professional capacity, and just, just great buddies, great friends that we just come out and we help each other. And, that's just who we are and what we do. So yeah, I'm just truly blessed that I have this support today. Did you want me to talk about myself?
Sure.
I don't really, I can't do that.
It's your
Maybe over
time.
some drinks I can, but.
I think that's why they're all here. They're expecting happy hour after this. But this is your time. We'll give you the time to state what you need to.
Yeah, I've worked in various capacities. I've done, the nitty gritty laborer type of jobs, and I've helped myself, and I've encouraged myself also through the encouragement of others to rise up. And I do have over 30 years of work experience, but halfway through that, I felt like I could never look at people level-headedly, like, because I was missing something else. I was full of work experience, and back in the day, work experience was the best, right? That was top notch. And for some of us, school was just not priority. But I'm a non-traditional student or graduate, college graduate. I didn't go right after high school and complete my 4 years and move on. I had some intermissions as well, but that's life for some people, and I'm proud of it, because when I did decide to go back into school, the advances were there. I didn't graduate from college in 1995 like some of my peers, but I'm proud of it because I was able to adjust to the modern technologies that we have now, and just be up to speed with life and the advancements that are here with us now. So that's my story, and everyone has their own story, and who are we to judge them and their journey? We're here to support people, especially the people of the CNMI. What we hope, I don't know, we're probably the last generation here who has come back to give to our community despite all the economic hardships and all the trials that are happening here. But me and my generation, we're here, we sacrifice, we suck it up because we want our CNMI to be great. And if we're not here, who's gonna be here for us? It's not gonna be the local people. And we wanna build that capacity. And so we're here to help encourage our new generation to come home. Oftentimes we hear there's nothing for us there if we come home. Well, there's nothing here because you're not here fighting for it. And we are. And now our kids are here and they're going to fight for it too, because we're here cheering them on, and we're going to do our best to make it happen. And I think now in my role, and in the skills and experience I have attained, I can help the scholarship office through different through new programs, or through enhancing the programs they have already, or building on the talent that they have at their office. I really like bringing people out of the woodwork and allowing them to shine. Everybody has their own light and everybody can shine. We all shine differently, but it's not to say we cannot shine. And I'm here to do that because I care, and I care for our islands and our community, and I want our people to take advantage of all the opportunities we do have here. And one of them is availing of the scholarship incentive and awards that are given. It's support, it's good enough, and maybe to help them through the other programs that are being offered through the scholarship office. The WICHE program is there. There are other programs as well that do help for the Technical Institute scholarship. And there can be more. And I want to help establish and implement more incentive programs for our students. In my current capacity in the disabilities field, we track our graduates 1 year post graduation. That's one of our requirements. And it's so disheartening when we come to find the data reads some of our kids are not engaged. And not engaged means they're not doing anything. They're not employed. They're not receiving independent life skills. They're not in school. So we want to change that mindset, especially for those in the disabilities community. There are opportunities, and we just need to change the mindset, and let's focus on what people can do and not necessarily what they cannot do, because you'll be surprised and you'll have so many eye openers and you'll be inspired in so many different ways. People are so creative. Our islanders, our island community members are full of talent. We just have to go out there and let them know there are opportunities for them, and we just have to cheer them on and provide them these incentives to get them the proper schooling or technical skill training that they need. So that's why I'm here, and that's why when I was offered the board position, the nomination, I was like, sure, I don't mind. I think I can help make a positive impact in the scholarship office. Of course, I did have to seek the support of all these folks back here. I just feel them out a little bit. Hey, what do you think about this? And they're like, do it. I'm like, okay. So, my dad said, do it. My husband said, go for it. Why sit back and watch and just be on the sidelines? Let's make that impact. If I can do it, now's the time for me to do it. So that's why I'm here. And I respectfully ask for your support. And I believe it's a 4-year appointment. And if you don't like what I'm doing or how I go about doing things, then kick me out. I don't mind. I'll exit. But I'll know I exited doing the best I possibly could. I do know most of the girls at the scholarship office. I do know the administrator. So we've had conversations. I was also privileged to be selected to lead the transition of the scholarship office. So I am privy to the transition report. I helped write it. We did interview the staff there, and they're very good and accommodating to us. So yeah. So that's pretty much what I have to say, and thank you.
Thank you. And I want to extend a warm welcome to your father, Mr. John Moore. Welcome to your chamber, sir. Your sister, Miss Deborah, is here in the back. And I'm sorry I don't know your son, but welcome.
It's Tyler.
Welcome, Tyler.
Thank you.
And I also want to state for the record that we received a letter of support from Mr. Claudio K. Norita for your nomination.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
At this time, I will open up the floor now for questions from the members of the committee. Recognize Senator Donald Minglonia.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good afternoon to everyone here. Good afternoon, Ms. Flores. First of all, thank you for all you do for our students and the community, and also going above and beyond in serving in this capacity, or wanting to serve in this capacity, which is an unpaid position and requires a lot of your time outside your PSS job. Just some things I want to bring up based on the transition report. You did shed light on uncollected MOUs. I know that has been an issue. And so I didn't see any recommendations, but just on your understanding, or I guess your opinion on what you think needs to be done, whether that, I know the Senate President has a bill that would suspend this requirement, but also just what's your overall take? Is this something that we should continue to pursue or provide some kind of relief? Just
Okay.
generally,
Yeah.
I mean, until you sit in that capacity, but for now, what's just some general ideas you have in regards to that?
Well, thank you for that, Senator. When we did the interview with the scholarship office, the administrator had proposed the need for a collections attorney to assist with that. It's a sizable amount. It's a little over $7 million that is left to be collected. I would suggest, with that bill, perhaps they could possibly, you know, consider collecting from those who did receive the financial incentive, the scholarship, but did not complete their program. Maybe for those who did complete but have not come home, so they're looking for collection from them, we can possibly waive them. But for those who did avail of it and failed to complete their program, their college experience during the time that's allotted, I would probably consider prioritizing collection from them first. I mean, I would have to think about it further and maybe have that discussion with the rest of the board members and probably see what the scholarship administrator has to say about that. But yeah, just based on what she was telling us during that visit, it was difficult for her because she had assumed, I believe that was her former position, and then she moved up to the administrator position. So there was issue. She did her best in trying to collect with the staff that they have on hand, but unfortunately there are circumstances that people share with them that are beyond their control and they're unable to make payments. But I did see the payment plan, and I think it is affordable. It's really generous, especially if it's extended over a 5-year period for repayment, and it can go as low as $20 up. I mean, I just feel like, should that bill come to play or come into action, you would maybe prioritize those who failed to complete their college experience first, and then maybe waive it for those who have completed, but they're just not back here in the CNMI serving as they should be. Those are just thoughts right now that come to the top of my head.
Thank you for that. And another issue that was listed on the transition report was that the last time a quorum was established was back in July of 2021. Do you know up until today whether that has already been, if the board members have already met? And if not, is it mainly a scheduling issue? And if that's the case, or would you be like the third person to make that quorum? Do you know what's going on there?
Yeah, thank you for that. It is an area of concern, especially during the transition, because as of December 22nd, they did not establish a quorum. They were unable to meet. You did? Oh, until today, they have not. I will be that third person because they have so many pressing issues that need to move forward that require board action, and I'm just unsure as to why they were unable to schedule a meeting date and establish quorum, considering we have technology now. I mean, the COVID pandemic it was a real big negative impact on us, but there was that small window, that blessing in disguise that forced us to improve ourselves with the use of technology and allow for those types of meeting, so to speak, in virtual places. It's not to say you cannot meet, but if you're unable because of your current job duties, then I'm not sure why you would assume an additional task. Before I did say yes completely to this nomination, I did seek the support of my leadership at my place of employment, and they are supportive of me, and of course I'm aware of the extra time that will be needed, possibly away from work, even in late hours, weekends, whatever it may be. But we have technology, we are able to meet, and I think should we be able to support the scholarship office with upgrading their technological needs, it shouldn't be a problem at all for anyone to be able to zoom in, or and establish that quorum. We do it at our place of work. We've done it since 2020. It took a little adjustment, but hey, we made it happen. And it's because it's for the best interest of the students. And I think in this case as well, it's in the best interest of our scholarship recipients that we make this. This is what we accepted to do, and we should continue with it and make sure we're able to provide that service to these folks that really need it. So yes, I will be that third person. I will make sure there is quorum.
Thank you. And that's good to hear and assuring, because I think now more than ever, rather than wait for that requirement of one meeting per quarter, I think moving forward, I think the board will need to meet regularly, because of the fact that majority, if not all, of the funding that was reserved for scholarship would have been paid off by ARPA. And knowing that that's no longer available, how will we move forward in trying to get money from the general fund or money from other sources to continue to support the scholarship to these students? And so I hope that at the end of this hearing today, that we can expedite that process at least, so that you can start working with other members. Some of the recommendations I would like to offer is to really look at past programs. I know that just recently, right, we had the behavioral health scholarship that was signed into law. So that's a new program, and I saw that it was part of it looks like it was there might be some concerns about that in regards to regulation, but also past programs like the honor scholarship. I was a recipient of the honor scholarship, and that was a big factor. One of the main reasons why I moved back, because I didn't want to end up paying 60,000, right? And so just stuff like that. How can we improve the program to where we can offer this scholarship, but also encourage our students to come back, but also understanding that, because I got my degree in marketing, there's no marketing jobs in the CMI, something to that effect. And so building that stronger relationship with Department of Labor or OPM to try to get more awareness as to what's available out there for our students who are wanting to come back and wanting to come back and repay and give service to the community. And so I hope that those are stuff that can be looked at and can be shared with the committee. And so with that, I will yield for now, and I would just want to state for the record that I would offer my strong support as well for the confirmation of Ms. Flores. I yield.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Senator Manglonia. I have, in line with Senator Manglonia's line of questioning, two board members will be expiring in June of this year, which will create a big gap in the quorum issue again. So, and we haven't had any new nominations aside from yourself to the scholarship board. So I hope that the administrator can look into that for now, to encourage the governor to send the nomination over so that programs are not further delayed unnecessarily. Based on the testimonials I have heard from your supporters, I have every confidence that you will be a hands-on board member, and your resume, your credentials precede you. I'm glad the governor has nominated you. And also that the one recommendation I'd like for board members and the administrators of the CNY Scholarship Board to consider is that as you, in your PSS job now, you mentioned, I heard you mention that you monitor those graduating and track them. I would like that the same system be implemented so that you track graduating college students so that you can create a pipeline directly back to the CNMI government and place them in jobs. So maybe if we tweaked the marketing of our scholarship and say, if you go to college, you are guaranteed a job coming back. I know OPM issues job vacancies every single month, and there's hundreds of those that I see, and place proper graduates in the positions that are advertised. I'd like to see that implemented one day. As to the collection, Senator Manglonia mentioned that there's a bill currently in committee to waive the debt owed by previous students who have not paid back their dues pursuant to the regulations. What do you say as to those who have already completed paying their dues, and now there's a bill that is attempting to waive those who did not? How can we hear your thoughts on the parity of that situation? Because we're going to be stuck in between a rock and a hard place making that decision.
Yeah, it's really, yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, it's really, it's really unfortunate that it's come to this where we have to have legislation to provoke, and further force people to either pay or waive. I think maybe if you would possibly give us the opportunity to work on our collection efforts. Let's see what we can do in the scholarship office maybe, and try a different approach in getting folks to start repaying. I'm not really, I'd like to read the bill. I'm to get a better understanding of it, but just on the offset, I would probably ask if what does push through, if you could at least, maybe we should focus on collecting from those who did not complete their programs, and they availed of the scholarship, versus those who did successfully complete their programs. I'm not sure what their reasons are. I know the scholarship administrator has made numerous attempts in collecting from folks, but she's heard all the reasons. I'm not sure what they are, but yeah, I mean, like I mentioned earlier, I did see the repayment plan, and I think it's doable because it goes all the way down to just double digit payment. I mean, just show us some effort. $7 million is a lot of money, and we could use that for so many things. We can incentivize other programs that are so desperately needed here in building our local workforce. I really hope that should the bill come into action, that you do consider just exactly the impact it will have. That's $7 million less for us, for the CNMI. That was taxpayer money that went to these folks. So I would just probably suggest consider prioritizing collection from those that did not complete their programs. But yeah, just yeah, for right now, that's probably what I would say.
Thank you. Speaking of the $7 million collectibles, I do know in finance that debts owed that are more than 7 years old or 10 are uncollectible at this point. And I say this because as a whole government, if we still have liabilities in our book, in our banks, in our financial statements, it brings down our credibility. It's just like taking out a loan in a bank. If you have an outstanding loan that's not being collected, by law, there's ways to write it off. And that could be one avenue to get these uncollectibles off of our books. So I'd like to ask you guys to consider that as well. I have no further comments. Recognize Senator Paul Manglonia.
Thank you, Chairwoman. I look back in the gallery because I came late and I see the bishop. I was wondering who's in front of the Senate. And so I'm just going to put aside my questions.
Oh, okay.
Just kidding. But I also welcome your dad and
Thank you,
family
sir.
and friends,
Thank you.
classmates who are here.
Mhm.
I think I don't have anything to question your
No.
qualification and where your heart will take our children in school.
Mhm.
So I just have, and I'm glad to hear that. And I just noticed you're the chair for the transition committee.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And so I just want to ask, is that 5.8 million from ARPA in the account? Is that safe in the account for scholarship?
I really don't know. I will look back to the administrator and she'll gesture to me. Is it there? Well, the money is not. It's the scholarship money, but it is not there.
So we're not sure whether that funding is available then, right? I
No,
mean,
we're
it
not
might
sure.
have been identified, but if you wanna use it for scholarship now, you can do it, right? It's
Probably
not-
have till
So
September
we have
30.
to look
No.
into it and find out its
No, longer.
availability.
Oh,
Right?
no more. It's not there
No.
according to Madam Chair.
Okay, so I just wanted to find out because actually I think Madam Chair, I know that we're not questioning the
Oh, okay.
Governor has approved us to use the elected official wage salary account, and so that's how we're financing.
Okay, so I understand none from ARPA.
None from ARPA,
Yeah,
sir.
I just wanted to know
Yeah.
because actually when at the beginning of the year, I had our staff draft a legislation for medical scholarship
Oh.
to target some of those funding, but I kind of held back when I heard that it's not available. So I appreciate if you can look into that and
Yes,
see
sir.
when,
Yeah.
if ever, it will be available.
Yes.
Appreciate. Yeah, just briefly on the 7 million outstanding balance. I'm just concerned. Is that like half of that is the honor scholarship from prior scholarship, and the rest are like for those regular students that get their annual $1,000 check per semester, or
I believe
is that
it's-
from honor scholarship?
I believe it's everything.
It's everything, right? Because from the beginning, the honor scholarship way back, I was the author for that. The intent was not really to collect that back. I told the scholarship boards way back then, that's a scholarship. You just give them
An
per year.
incentive.
And I know it was kind of a high scholarship aid in the beginning, but we cut that down to 15,000 per year, and maybe plus incentive. But that actually that was never intended to be made a loan.
Mm.
So can you look into that?
Yes,
I
sir.
want to review that because back then in the late 80s and early 90s, we don't have a lot of college graduates coming back to the CNMI. So the intent there was to promote at least two in each island to come back, get a bachelor's degree, because many were going, but they were not coming back with degrees. So that was the intent, and that should not be converted to loan.
Okay.
No, and then I have an issue with just making those that did not complete pay,
Okay.
because some of them have a hardship along the way, and I think it's not fair to just make them pay. The scholarship office should have a better monitoring, right? So that you don't keep getting a scholarship every semester when you're not submitting your report cards, right? So
Right.
it's
Yeah,
just a matter
it's
of
a
making
process.
sure
Yeah.
you get their report cards, and then you know that they're in line to get their degree. So just my comment on that issue.
Okay.
And on the your transition report, it mentions about behavioral health professional scholarship. Why is that affected by non-quorum? I'm just wondering.
It is because they couldn't establish guidelines for it, or the regulation for it. So they need the board approval.
Also, now you have regulations, guidelines. It wouldn't be affected in the future by lack of quorum.
Well, it has yet to come into fruition
Oh, it's
because of
not
the
yet?
lack of quorum. So
Oh.
this behavioral services program has not taken effect yet due to the lack of quorum, which should there have been one, they would have been able to adopt the regulations or the guidelines for those applicants. So that is another concern. And yeah, aside from that, I did see the funding for that particular program. It just says it's, from scholarship fund. So I'm not sure what that is, because it's a sizable, it's up to $10,000 a year. And yeah, so I'm not sure how that would be funded. It doesn't say how it's going to be funded. It just says it's going to be funded through the scholarship office.
And I guess if that ARPA is not available, the only funding source is those that are retired,
Yeah.
working, right? That's the only
Yeah.
source. And I guess the delegation accounts.
Mm.
And,
Yeah. And also it
special
sunsets,
appropriation,
yeah.
right? From
Yeah, and that particular program sunsets, and it's limited to up to 5 recipients. So in 5 years, it will sunset, and that's not. It doesn't say through the adoption of regulation. It says when that bill becomes law. So it is law since last year. So it has already taken its days. So I'm not sure who will be able to benefit from it at this time.
So from the CNMI scholarship, how much does a regular student without incentive, how much do you give them per semester? I'm just curious.
I'm not sure. $750
Per
a
semester.
semester.
Now everyone automatically gets that if
Should
you
they meet
are
the-
accepted and
Yes.
you're attending classes.
And I
right?
believe the incentive has been suspended, right? Or no? Do you still give out incentive? Oh, okay. They still give out the
Okay.
incentive. So this behavioral program is for those in a graduate program, a master's degree.
Está. Jesus Monse.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Paul Manglonia. I recognize Senator Dennis Mendiola.
Thank you, Chair. Just curious with the data of recipients of the scholarship, are we seeing people coming back at a higher rate, or and I'm sure again that it's even if we graduate, right, it's it's based on job availability. So I'm just curious on the data.
I do have the centric report from last year, and it does show there are a few who have come home, but still there's so many that have availed of the scholarship and have yet to come home and give back to the community. So I don't know. I'm thinking, I'm just gonna help think of ways to encourage our kids to come home, and let's be contributing members of our society, and let's make it, a great place for us. There are other islands out there, our sister islands that that have bigger struggles than we do, yet their sense of pride in coming home is so strong. And I know we have that pride here, and I think we just have to motivate and inspire those that are out there to come home. And that's really our goal. That's my personal goal as well. Go out there and take advantage. Here's the support that we can offer you, being a little island in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, right? But go out there. We're so proud. So many of our children are proud of their home when they go out, go abroad. I want them to come home, show that pride and come home. It may be harder, yeah, but how can we make any changes out here from out there? We hear so many thoughts and comments, and they're so appreciated, but there's so many of us that are here, and we are doing our best, to fix our home and make it a safe place. Because truly, if you look at our islands, this is the best place to raise a family. This is the safest place compared to the United States right now. There's so many hardships, so much hatred out there, but yet we come home, we're still family oriented. We have that sense of family here. And I think we really need to find ways when we do go out to recruit, when we do that outreach. We have to do better in how we encourage our kids, to come home and be contributing members of our society here.
Thank you, Ms. Flores. It seems like you just read my mind on the follow-up question. So
No,
outstanding.
sorry. I'm sorry.
No, it's good. It's good. We can move this along. Thank you. And I can say that, as a freshman legislator, right, I'm starting to see a lot of the packages that comes from the appointees. And what I can say is that I'm starting to see, or at least I'm seeing in this legislature, a lot of credentials that are, really it reflects the need for the island. So I guess I need to just ensure that we kind of promote that and try and bring more of our people back, right? Like you
Yes,
said,
sir.
like you
Yeah.
mentioned earlier, that sometimes we just got to take a sacrifice so that we can make our island better. So
Yeah.
thank you for
Thank
that.
you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you. I have a few things I picked up off. I noticed I too have the citizen-centric report,
Mhm.
and I noticed there were 11,245 JVAs shared and did 6 outreach by the scholarship office.
Mhm.
So as a policymaker here at the legislature, I'd like to, what has been previous practice has not worked. We need to step out of the box. Giving more money in terms of incentives and a higher scholarship does not necessarily translate to better retention in terms of coming back. It does not translate to a higher graduation rate. So we need to study that a little bit further. And one thing, one of my children is a graduate of UNLV, and one of their medical scholarships offered by University of Nevada is that if you graduate as a medical doctor, they will, and if you come back and serve the state of Nevada for 3 years, your entire college career will be waived.
Forgiven.
So I think that's
Yeah.
a lot of universities in the States have that. I know in the University of Hawaii, for those majoring in criminal justice, they have an internship at their senior year, an internship with the Honolulu Police Department. And they start getting their hands-on experience, and that also translates to workforce development in the community they serve. Going back to UNLV, UNLV is the top school for tourism naturally because of the casinos that surround it. And one of their tourism and hospitality program guarantees a job at one of the major casinos upon graduation of an undergraduate degree. So those are incentives that we can offer students, I think, to bring back the students. We've been trying for more than a decade to bring these students back. And we've heard all the reasons too
Mhm.
of why they don't want to come back, lower wages, and the positions that they apply for, they're either determined that they are overqualified or underqualified. And overqualified, I don't even want to understand that, what that
Yeah.
means.
We're together on that.
But these are some ideas that I'm tossing out to you guys because it can be done, I think.
Yes.
That's all I have for now. Are there any other comments from the members? Recognize Senator Paul, and that will be the last one for
Okay,
this
see this
nominee.
Marcy, and I'm also thinking about other programs. I know that they don't necessarily fall under scholarship office, but I think that this could be something that the scholarship can look into also. I know that there used to be a ROTC program in coordination with University of Guam, for example, right? And our students can actually attend 2 years at NMC, and then they go to Guam and finish up their last 2 years. And it's a very good program. You get out, you're already an officer, right? And I think that that's a very good program. So it's not really your program, but it's kind of like giving scholarship to our kids, giving them, offering them other opportunities. And I just heard that that program is no longer there. I'm not sure exactly why or how they do it now, or do they just send, those are the kind of kids that we need to actually follow up and make sure that they don't miss out on going to Guam to finish the last 2 years. If we can even work with University of Guam and, for example, have the third year still here with some courses. So I know scholarships about giving money, but it can also go a long way by following up with NMC on such programs, right? I know there are other programs with university or Portland State University. I forgot what's the name of that program now, but there are students I remember from Rhoda and here that will go to Portland State or other Wichi universities, and they have these scholarships. So please look into that.
Yes,
I'm
sir.
so
Yeah.
happy that you're in there,
Yeah,
and
thank you.
these are ways that we can help our kids.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, there are many partnerships we can look into and consider. Now it's easier. It's online. It's hybrid. So there's many opportunities, and our public school system also offers that to a lot of our staff as well. So it's something worth looking into, definitely.
Done, Senator Paul. I have one last one.
Okay, ma'am.
That I forgot. So the University of Hawaii did a study, an economic study. And I've been asking NMC to conduct the same thing, and I hope that the scholarship office will conduct a survey of the same. University of Hawaii did an economic study that for every dollar they pump into education, college, secondary education, it translates to $7 worth of economic benefit to the community, to the island.
Okay.
I'd like to, as a policymaker, understand the amount of money we're pumping into education and students to get their college
Sure.
degrees, how much of that economic benefit returns to the island.
Okay.
So that was one of the last things I'd like to recommend that
Okay, thank you.
it be coordinated. I don't think
Okay.
it's ever been done. I think as policymakers, it's important to understand
Sure.
how our dollars are making an impact to the community, to the economy.
Okay. Thank
That's
you.
all I have. If there are no further questions, you are dismissed, Ms. Flores.
Thank you.
Short recess. It is now 3:02 p.m. Good afternoon, everyone. It is now 3:36 p.m. and we are back from recess. And at this time, we will be vetting the nomination for Miss Victoria Bellis, nominated to be a commissioner at the Civil Service Commission. And may I please invite the Special Assistant for Administration, Mr. Oscar Babauta, and the nominee to join us at the table. And the role of Mr. Babauta here is to formally introduce the nominee to the committees. But before we allow Mr. Babauta to introduce the nominee to the committee, I'd like to open the floor at this time for public comments. If you do wish to provide public comments, I'd like to ask that you please state your name for the record and the entity you represent. And pursuant to Senate rules, you will be allowed at least 5 minutes.
Good afternoon, Chairwoman Babauta and members of the Senate Committee on Executive Appointments and Government Investigations. My name is Galvin De Leon Guerrero, and I am honored to serve our community as the president of Northern Marianas College. I thank you for this opportunity to speak before you today in support of the appointment of Victoria Simone Bellis to serve as a member of the CNMI Civil Service Commission. A cursory overview of her resume reveals an impressive degree of professional experience and expertise. I have witnessed both at the college, where Ms. Bellis has been for many years a student, an employee, and a leader. In that time, she has demonstrated a particular proficiency for working with an organization's most important resource, human resources. In her time at the college's Human Resource Office, she spearheaded important initiatives to ensure the overall health and wellness of employees. Working with the college's health squad, of which she is a member, she helped in amending our procedures to expand the traditional sick leave parameters into a broader health leave program. This new program now allows employees to avail of such leave for a wide variety of reasons, whether extra time is needed to go to the gym, an employee would like to squeeze in time for a 30-minute walk, or an employee just needs a mental health day to de-stress and refocus. Ms. Bellis followed the implementation of this redefined employee benefit with another benefit, the college's new fitness benefit. With this new benefit, the college partially shares the costs of an annual membership and an approved gym, which is made affordable because the cost is amortized via each biweekly payroll and is only covered as long as the participating employee avails of the gym membership. These two initiatives are just some of the many examples in which Ms. Bellis has worked to ensure the health and wellness of college employees, a perspective that will undoubtedly inform similar initiatives to take care of the many hardworking employees covered by the CNMI Civil Service Commission. But let's be honest, change is hard. And launching these bold new initiatives at the college was not easy. However, that did not deter Ms. Bellis in pushing through, which reflects two important traits of hers that will serve the commission well. First, Ms. Bellis is creatively persistent in finding ways to get things done. When she runs up against obstacles, she finds a way around them, through them, or even under them. Second, Ms. Bellis works extremely well with others in finding common ground. When she runs up against opposition, she finds common ground to then find solutions together. This combination of creative persistence and solution-driven collaboration will undoubtedly help the CNMI Civil Service Commission as it works with the Palacios Apateng administration and the entire Commonwealth to navigate the fiscal crisis we find ourselves in. Considering the many challenges that we face these days, Ms. Bellis is exactly the kind of young, dynamic leader that we need. She can and she will make a positive difference. For these reasons, I ask that members of this Senate committee support the appointment of Victoria Simone Bellis during this confirmation process. Again, thank you very much for the opportunity to speak in support of confirming Ms. Bellis.
Thank you, Dr. Galvin De Leon Guerrero. The floor is still open.
Good afternoon, Senator and this committee. My name is Ray Munya. I am a commissioner for the Civil Service Commission, and I fully support the confirmation of Ms. Victoria Bellis. So I've known Ms. Bellis as a colleague at NMC when she was a work study, a personal specialist at the Human Resources Office, and also as an admissions counselor at the Office of Enrollment Services. So I'm confident in her abilities to lead this commission in helping the CNMI. As was mentioned with Dr. Galvin de Longuero, we are facing a dire strait in our economy, and I'm very confident in Ms. Bellis in finding creative outside-the-box solutions in helping our civil service employees. So another issue that is put forth in the CNMI is basically workforce development. I'm confident that Ms. Bellis, with the possible alignment with the Northern Marianas College and NMTech to help our employees. I'm a firm believer in an educated workforce. I'm a product of NMC, and I want to do as much as possible with the assistance of Ms. Bellis to help our employees, get them credentialed, and ultimately upskill their status as a government employee. So with that said, I look forward in the possible confirmation in Ms. Bellis, and thank you for this opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Munya. The floor is still open.
I dispense out. Hello. Okay. Tiro me hafa day, honorable senators, Madam President. I am Romulo Orsini, and I'm here to testify for Victoria Bellis as a commissioner to the Civil Service Commission. Victoria Bellis will serve as a great commissioner because she possesses all the qualities worthy of the position. I know this because I grew up around the Civil Service Commission like almost my whole life. My father, Andrew Orsini, served as a hearing officer and later served as director of the Civil Service Commission for about 15 years. I've heard stories of the great men and women who served on the board through my father. From these stories, I know that Victoria Bellis will uphold the policies and principles of the commission. I believe Victoria Bellis will be fair when it comes to employee grievances and appeals. I believe Victoria Bellis will defend the rights of the working man and women. And lastly, Victoria Bellis will dedicate her public service to help all public servants.
Thank you, Mr. Orsini. The floor is still open.
This. Good afternoon, Chair and members of this committee. Thank you for allowing me to share my thoughts. Thank you for allowing me to share my thoughts. I don't really know Victoria Bellis, but let me just share what I know. And I just got the information maybe like 2:30 to if I want to testify. I say, oh my goodness, so what do I say up there? So I'm thinking, and I said, okay, the only thing I can say is that I would see her on TV. Okay, I only know Miss Victoria Bellis based on what I see and hear during the 2022 general election when she was promoting Mr. Manny Castro as a candidate running for House of Representative. This is real, no? In precinct number 2. Based on what I see and hear on TV ads, I can surely expand on 2 areas that would support my reasons for supporting Ms. Bellis as an appointee to be a member of the Civil Service Commission. Based on what I see, as you may agree that a picture paints 8,000 words. Based on what I see, her presence on TV projected confidence, values, beliefs, and ability to influence. To me, she did very well presenting herself as a vessel to influence people to vote. I believe her presence on TV, what she stands for and believe for, had some influence in the successful election of Mr. Castro, now Congressman Castro. Based on what I hear, as you may agree, choice of words, tone of voice, and tempo matters when you are conveying message to the general public, especially when you're asking them for votes. Ms. Bellas did very well in achieving this. Her message was clear, brief, clear, and simple. Any voter would understand her message. Again, what she said influenced a lot of people to vote for Mr. Castro, who is now the congressman. No? Ms. Bellas is proving herself to be an articulate, confident, and hardworking individual who has aspirations to achieve great things for the Commonwealth, people of the Commonwealth. If confirmed, I hope she applies her knowledge, skills, and abilities to help the civil service employees become more effective, efficient, and productive. It is an inherent responsibility for members to continue working in making the civil service system better. For these reasons, I'm urging the members of this committee to please support and confirm Ms. Bellas to be a new member of the Civil Service Commission. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pangilinan. The floor is still open.
Good afternoon, everybody. I am Franny T. Salas. I am the Director of the Office of Personnel Management. I am here to basically give my support to Ms. Bellas's appointment. And one of the things that stands out to me, which I think is going to be very great addition, is that Ms. Bellas has human resource background. And I think that is quite important for this role. And also for the mission of our office, the Office of Personnel Management. I would also like to ask that the other vacancies that are available on our commission be expeditiously also filled so that we can continue the work that we need to do. I must say to Ms. Bellas that we have a lot of work ahead of us and that I'm very open and willing to work with her. Thank you.
Ms. Salas, the floor is still open. No? Nobody else? That concludes our section for public comments. At this time, I would like to recognize Mr. Oscar Babauta to introduce the nominee, Ms. Victoria Simone Bellas, to the committee.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and members of your esteemed committee. Just for the record, I guess this is my third appearance today. I feel like becoming a member of the Senate too. I'm done the last 12 years of visiting this chamber, both chamber, the House primarily. But I love to be back and participate in the democratic process of our Commonwealth. However, I'd like to say buenos dias, half a day, and tiro to you, Madam Chair, and your honorable members of EAGI Committee. For the record, my name is Oscar Mbauta, the Special Assistant for the Administration under the Office of the Governor, and more particular so, under Governor Arnold Palacios and Lieutenant Governor David Apatang, thanking them for the opportunity to appear on their behalf. I am here, Madam Chair, members, to officially introduce and present to you the Governor's nominee for the Civil Service Commission, none other than Ms. Victoria Bellas, who is currently present in the chamber with me this afternoon. Ms. Bellas has over 10 years of experience, starting as the administrator of St. Joseph Medical Transport in Guam from 2013 to 2017, before moving to the Northern Marianas College Office of Admissions and Records, serving as a student enrollment specialist from 2019 to 2021. She then became the personnel specialist for human resources NMC Human Resources, and especially the Equal Employment Opportunity with the Americans with Disabilities, ADA, and gets herself involved with the Title IX coordinator for the college since 2022. She graduated with distinct honors from the Northern Mariners College with a bachelor degree of science in business management. Governor Palacios and Lieutenant Governor Apatang placed their full trust and confidence in Ms. Bellas to serve as part of the Civil Service Commission team that would enable to facilitate and mitigate all civil service grievances and policies that lies ahead before the Office of Personnel Management. Her long history of professional experience, credentials, and other commitments to serving the Commonwealth in this capacity makes her a viable candidate. And we kindly ask for your expeditious approval and eventually a positive approval with the full Senate in the next few weeks. That being said, Madam Chair, thank you very much on behalf of the administration, Jesus Masi Jangaliso, for the opportunity to once again introduce the administration's nominee to this August body, Jesus Masi Talumbe. Thank you very much. Good afternoon.
Jesus Masi, Senor Babauta.
And enjoy your weekend and the rest of St. Patrick's Day.
Happy St. Patrick's Day to everyone. For the record, I'd like to note that we also received a letter of support for Ms. Victoria Simone Bellis from Mr. Henry John Titano from Guam. At this time, may I ask the nominee, Ms. Bellis, to please rise and raise your right hand, and the legislative assistant, Mr. Macaranas, will administer the oath.
Victoria Simone Bellis, you do solemnly swear under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you shall give in the matter at hand shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you. You may be seated. Ms. Bellis, this hearing is part of our democratic process, which involves the legislature exercising its authority under statute to review and vet nominees from the administration, and each candidate that appears before this committee goes through this process. I'd also like to inform you that each member of this committee has the obligation to ask probing questions of you and as to your qualification and your background, and that is why we are here today. And at this time, I will ask you if you'd like to make any opening remarks, you may do so at this time. If you'd like to introduce any family members that are with you today, you may also do so.
Thank you, Madam Chair and esteemed members of this committee. I just wanted to say I really appreciate the opportunity to even be nominated for the Civil Service Commission. I am going to hold off on introductions. There's quite a few Kililis in the room and other members of my family and friends. But what I will say is that as one of the youngest members to be nominated for the Civil Service Commission, what I lack in experience, I make up for in drive. I tend to pick a lot of agencies and boards that have a lot of work that needs to be done, and there is a reason for that. I confidently feel that my characteristics and the experiences that I've gone through have led me to this opportunity, and I look forward to working with the board should I be given the opportunity to do so. So thank you again.
Thank you, Ms. Bellis. At this time, I will open up the floor to other members to ask their questions. Recognize Senator Donald Manglonia.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, Ms. Bellis, and to everyone present here this afternoon. Ms. Bellis, just to start off, as your current title as a EEO ADA Title IX coordinator, have you had any have you dealt with any cases, whether it be grievances or anything in relative to the position you are being nominated for?
Thank you, Senator Magnolia. Well, I just wanted to inform you that as of right now, I serve as the admissions counselor at the Northern Marianas College. I was previously the Title IX coordinator in about November 2022 to about February 2023. But in that short amount of time, yes, I dealt with a couple of different cases relevant to Title IX and grievances. But due to the confidentiality of those cases, I can't really go into detail. But I would say that those experiences have prepared me for the Civil Service Commission. And I feel like they were handled in a way where there was closure and resolution.
And so you've handled these cases throughout its entire process. I know you said you've only been there from November to February, but within that short amount of time, did you see it throughout its process?
Well, not to toot my own horn, but yes, I saw them throughout the entirety of them. And I think that speaks to my skill set in the sense that they were so brief and concise that they were handled adequately in a short amount of time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Excuse me. So based on what you know with the current pay system within the CNMI government, what are your opinions in regards to some of the disparities between positions as well as duties between agencies, and how do you hope to address them?
Well, I think at this time, I've only so briefly been involved with the commission. I think it requires a lot more studying and understanding the role of OPM and what has been established already. Clearly, I think equity amongst all employees is at the forefront. But again, we are dealing with a financial crisis. But that does not prevent us from establishing standards. So I do see myself working hand in hand with the rest of the commission to come up with innovative solutions, but at least a foundation of what should be, in essence, to promote employees and their well-being and what type of upward mobility they see in their positions.
Thank you for that. I think what are some ideas that you have for the Office of Personnel Management, or even within the government's HR system that you feel you can contribute to improving? And I'll just throw some ideas out there, in regards to trainings of government employees, whether it be ethics or stuff like that, whether it be desk audits on certain entities, or even just like a database where people have access to pays of all government employees and stuff like that. So what are some of the things that you have maybe have plans for in order to try to improve the system and the way the Civil Service Commission or the way OPM has conducted itself?
Well, in a perfect world, if our budget allows for it, some of my strengths in HR were training and development, as well as implementation of a database administrative software. So I think overall, synchronizing the government and having database software available. I know recently we've implemented Munis. So that's definitely a start, but having thorough implementation of training and allowing employees to fully understand the ins and outs of that system is crucial to having it available. Not only that, but as you mentioned, ethics trainings or anything along those lines, I think what we see nowadays is that a lot of the soft skills we assume people to have, whether it be computer skills or networking or just overall administrative skills that are kind of at the entry level. But the world is changing and we're leaning into a more technological era. So digitalizing some of these skills and providing the training to do so, I see a lot of potential in that for the civil service to offer. And just people skills. Sometimes it can be really hard to manage people. And in such a small, intimate community, I think that can be our greatest strength and greatest weakness is that we know each other so well, but it can be a little bit blurry in the workspace.
All right, thank you for that. At this time, I will yield to allow other members the opportunity to ask. Thanks.
Thank you, Senator Manglona.
Thank you.
Recognize Senator Dennis Mendiola.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Bellis. Just wanted to ask, given the short time that you're with civil service since your appointment, what are the biggest challenges that Civil Service Commission that you know of that Civil Service Commission is facing at this time?
Well, they really wanted me to show up today, so that I don't think they really told me a lot of their issues. But I will say that facing, our budget constraints happens to be one of the biggest uphill battles and obstacles for any board or agency to face. In my one meeting that we had, I did try to encourage revenue generating ideas with the thought of training and development. Is there a way for the civil service to provide training and development to generate some type of funding in order to maintain our budget? To which I was informed that, we are a commission that offers free services. So there may be a little bit of, it's just not exactly a clear answer at this time as to what is available to generate the revenue that we need. But aside from that, I feel with or without politics, this is a very strong group of leaders. And I have full faith in their ability and the ability to collaborate specifically that I just don't see any issues impeding the work that needs to be done.
Thank you for that. You answered the question pretty much that I was going to ask next. But I think if anybody can speak on grievances, I think OPM staff can probably refer you to me because I've had a lot of that. But I think the problem that we have is that, although, the employees have rights and, they're entitled to that. But a lot of the times is the issue that we have, or it's just the lack of understanding just the way the process works, right? And sometimes decisions that are rendered are often misconstrued as being unfair or unethical, or so with that in mind, I'm curious to know how do you plan on trying to address that issue?
Well, I think the only way to address that issue is with transparent communication. In the previous year, we've heard transparency and trust throughout the election. And those values are my North Star at this point, whether I am confirmed to be part of the civil service or not. But I think that will ultimately strengthen the decisions that are carried out by the board. In knowing that we have fully communicated to all parties involved, not necessarily just the employee affected, but also the agency that oversees the employment of this individual, and ensuring that there's no game of telephone along the way. I think everybody that's affected needs to be in the room. And with that, it does take gentle words at times, but I do feel that like delivering that message is absolutely necessary, even though it may ruffle some feathers, for lack of a better term. I think, I just feel like it is important to communicate every step of the process.
Absolutely right. I think that's probably one of my weak point when it comes to communication. Sometimes you can be just too direct, and employees might just take it a little bit as they get hurt by the the words that you use. So choice of words, no. Um, but you're right. I think the way you articulate yourself and the way you communicate, goes a long ways. Just modern time, no, it just becomes harder and harder to be just of any kind of management, just because we got the information technology era or social media era where any decision you make, somebody's gonna get somebody's not gonna be happy about it. So I think the biggest, and I gotta commend the OPM team, the director and your previous the Civil Service Commission, because they did work hand in hand with me with a lot of the issues that we had with the department. But I think that, and this is maybe just a recommendation for you, is that should you get confirmed, maybe we need to just, and this is not to say that the training's not there, but just supervisory skill, and management skills, and how do we deliver, and maybe even counseling, teaching our supervisors to be some sort of counseling. So I know, like, in my experience in the military, seriously, we're counselors as well. So we got to sit with the employee and give them a annual counseling or a quarterly counseling, and just lay it to them straight where they stand. And so when the time comes for any accolades, promotion, they understand that they're either meeting it or they're not, because for some reason everybody expects that WGI, everybody expects that promotion, but whether they're meeting the performance standard, it's a question for each manager to, or supervisor to answer. So just a little recommendation.
Thank you for that, Senator Mendiola.
Thank you, Ayu, for now, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator Mendiola. I just have a couple of, one is actually a recommendation, and the other one would be a question. We just heard from the nominee to the CNMI Scholarship Board, and part of their problem is trying to bring back college graduates to serve in our CNMI government or in our community to help revive our economy or stabilize it or bring some new ideas. And that also applies to their regulations that college graduates have to return, otherwise they pay it back. So my recommendation to you is, and to OPM, who you will be working with closely, is to create a pipeline. Get in touch with the CNMI Scholarship, the Saipan Shefa office, and Rhoda Scholarship and Tinian Scholarship offices to create a pipeline so that we can capture these graduates. And part of that is monitoring their progress along the way. And as I have mentioned to the nominee for the CNMI Scholarship, previous practices have not worked. We provide incentives, give them more money. It has not worked. So we need to try something different. And the question I have for you is, part of the JVAs that are announced by OPM requires, I'll give you an example. It requires, let's say, a college education, college level education, or 5 years service. How do you hope to resolve the conundrum when a college graduate has no experience and our scholarship office is saying, we need you to come back, otherwise you're going to pay? I'd like to hear your thoughts on some ideas to help resolve that.
Um, well, I do believe it is a matter of looking at the minimum qualifications and really reevaluating the actual job and what is necessary to be effective in that role. I do see a lot of the same things that we experience at NMC, where we miss out on viable employees because of the fact that they don't have the experience, or they don't have the experience paired with the degree. And we have to kind of acknowledge the fact that so many of our people are still going through the process of discovering their educational journey. I myself am a non-traditional student, and I left to the States to experience whatever I felt I needed to experience, only to come back and pursue my education at NMC. And that again is why I feel like I'm sincerely qualified for this nomination. My role at NMC as the admissions counselor, I am part of this pipeline that you are suggesting. I want to spearhead this pipeline to entice our people to go to school, to pursue higher education, and hopefully in the long run, if they find that traditional education is not for them, hopefully partnering with NM Tech to develop their skills and then revisiting the MQRs simultaneously so that we can build qualifications shaped around the people that we have here in the CNMI. For as long as we have qualifications that are built off of job descriptions of imaginary people, we will not be able to hire our own. And therefore, sometimes what was already laid in stone has to be broken to be rebuilt. And that is where I stand on that. Thank you.
Appreciate that. I have no further questions, really. Anything else? I'd like to recognize Senator Dennis Mendiola.
I just got one more, and this is regarding the MQR since it was being discussed. And yeah, should you get confirmed, I think we need to look at the MQR, the requirement to just move from one position to another or one rank to another, because it's and you kind of touched a little bit on it. For example, moving from one level to another is really just sit on the position for 2 years, for example, and it doesn't matter whether your performance or your productivity for the department is really laid out. It's really just, and again, it goes back to just sometimes being used for political reasons, just to just push people up and try and give them that promotion for whatever favor you can get out of that. So I like to see a more defined MQR and a little bit more so that it can give people something to look after or chase, something to work for, rather than just sit there for 2 years. And I've had issues with employees saying that I've been in the department for 20 years, for example, and then when you look at productivity, it doesn't really match the years of service. And then we got people who say I got a college degree, but then the performance doesn't match. So I think we just need to take a look at it and just kind of redefine that a little bit and be a little bit more proactive on that. And thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Recognize Senator Donald Manglonia.
Thank you, Chair. It seems like we're going to be closing up pretty soon, and so I just want to bring up a couple of things to consider, and hopefully this is something that you can share with the rest of the commissioners if confirmed. Just looking at the policy under the Civil Service Commission, it lists several objectives, such as providing equal opportunity for all, impartial selection, just opportunities for competent employees, reasonable job security, systematic classification of positions, fair and practical grievance procedures, flexibility in employer-employee relations to achieve and maintain a well-trained, productive, and happy workforce. Last legislature, we passed in the budget law to include a desk audit of 2 agencies. Unfortunately, I think that because the funding wasn't sufficient, they ended up doing a review instead. But even so, a review between these 2 agencies shed light on a lot of the challenges and some of the concerns that these employees are going through, and it hasn't been addressed because of fear of retaliation and being punished or placed in other duties that doesn't necessarily fit with their job description. And so that's something that I hope that the commission can further look into to assess all agencies and come up with recommendations that, you know, if it's something that would need to be changed by statute, then we can consider looking into. Um, and I know that you know, just overall, you know, we've read in the news that a lot of things are being changed in regards to the new secretaries that are coming in and looking at these issues. But just so that, you know, we have something that is consistent throughout, you know, within the, or as we go through changes in leadership moving forward, what are some of the procedures that can be adopted to ensure that these things don't ever happen again? And so, you know, not only are you probably the youngest nominee here, but you know, you may provide great insights based on your experience as a younger, fresher, you know, appointee, having new ideas. And so, if confirmed, I wish you the best of luck, and I hope to see that, you know, their employees are more open to talk about some of the concerns that they're going through, and be able to share or be able to voice it out and go through the Civil Service Commission. In addition to ensuring that, or at least reviewing the pay scale within these agencies, as well as you know, even if it's not something that we can afford, but at least understanding where should we be in today's where should we be in globally in terms of you know, paying our people what they deserve. And again, going back to what I questioned about earlier, is just having that database for people to access employee information that is not necessarily confidential, but you know, stuff like their pay and, you know, and stuff like that. I know Guam has a system where you can go in, and any Guam employees, you can just type their name and it shows how much they're getting paid and stuff like that. So at least it gives employees that opportunity to see where they're at in terms of how their counterpart is being compensated, to ensure that they are being paid fairly and stuff like that. And so thank you, and I yield at this time.
Thank you, Senator Magnolia. Recognize Senator Dennis.
I know I
Mendiola.
said last, but I just wanted to make sure, because I was going over your resume. So I just wanted to make sure something. It says customer service oriented, project management, communication, organization, problem resolution, adaptability, decision-making skills, training and development, multitasking skills, and event planning. Are you sure there's nothing else you want to put in here?
I'm a great mom. And that's why I have all those skills on that list.
So given that, anyways, I yield for now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Mendiola. I know that you are a new appointee, so you haven't had time to get your feet wet in the challenges that you will be facing at the Civil Service Commission. I've had the privilege of being in the same pre-law cohort as Ms. Bellis this past summer, and we had to argue a case before the CNMI Supreme Court with real judges asking us harder questions than we're facing today as to who owned a Pacific Triton shell that was found off of the coast of Manugaha. Long story short, it was absolutely amazing to see Victoria argue her case before Supreme Court judges, and how she applied her oratory skills with eloquence and ease. I was so glad I was not the opposing counsel. I will say that. But therefore, Ms. Bellis, this committee has determined that you meet the minimum qualifications, professional experience, and public experience to that you possess those skills to be a great commissioner at the Civil Service Commission. And you have demonstrated your commitment to excel and steer the Civil Service Commission with fairness. And it would be this body's privilege to confirm or consent to your nomination to the full Senate body. I thank you and congratulations in advance.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Moving along with our agenda, miscellaneous, is there any miscellaneous items that the members would like to bring up? If not, I'd like to recognize Senator Donald Manglonia for the proper motion to adjourn today's meeting.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And with that, I move to adjourn today's committee meeting.
Second.
Thank you. A motion has been made and it has been seconded. Are there any concerns or questions on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. It is now 4:22 p.m. This meeting is hereby adjourned.